This is back in December of 2013. CommUNITY NEPA did a show where there was nowhere for the homeless to sleep, just a place to eat.
I'd like to say there are a lot of homeless people in the town living in abandoned buildings on the street, and some of them come here to eat, and it's never in the paper, it's never brought up at the town meetings, and something should be done. They should build a shelter for these people, help them to get jobs, help them get their lives together, instead of arresting them or shunning them, which is what's happening.
So I don't know how to make a checking account, no booking account, like none of that. I don't know how to do that. I don't have my social security card, I don't have my ID. Like I'd like help with getting that. Because I don't want to go and turn to the street like some guy and do something dirty for it. So I'd look for guidance.
So for guidance, do you have a plan on how you're going to get out of this situation for yourself?
I don't have an address to put on the application. I don't have an ID to know that it's me. So I have no idea where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. It's been 2 years.
So the people and the businesses that do donate it to programs like this, this is helping you with food, but
yes,
there needs to be other assistance.
Yes, housing. Like just at least one place once a night. I have a bed to sleep in would be nice, instead of a carpet where it's freezing.
Now there is a place to call home, temporarily, thanks to Buenas Nuevas Church. They are allowing Catholic Social Service to use the space until they find a permanent location. Welcome to the Divine Providence Shelter in Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Right now we're standing in one of the bedrooms here in the Hazleton area. It's the first homeless shelter we've had here in Pennsylvania in the Hazleton area, and I'm with John. He was actually one of the residents here. So today we want to enlighten our viewers about the need of such a place like this homeless shelter for residents throughout northeastern Pennsylvania. So thanks for coming on the show with us.
Right.
So you were actually a resident here. Tell
Yes.
everyone your story. How did you utilize the shelter?
I was released from state prison in April 5th, 2016. Okay, was dropped off in Hazleton, didn't have nowhere to go. Went to Catholic Services to get a place to stay at the homeless shelter. As I was there, they gave me the clothes and everything I needed to go to get a job as a dishwasher in Jimmy's Quick Check, which gave me the money to save up to be able to get a place, an apartment, and be able to start my own business here in Hazleton.
It's very emotional, I could tell just talking to you about it, and we want everyone to know the need. I mean, if this shelter wasn't here when you needed it, what would you have done?
Probably lived on the streets, okay? Probably committed another crime.
So this really saved your life.
Yes, it did.
When you came to the Catholic Social Services, talk about that experience on how they actually helped you out.
They helped me out by giving me clothes, all right, and get my license to be able to get a job, okay? Because as I started out, I had nothing, no web, and you ain't getting an email without a cell phone. So they did all that. I went to Jimmy's. Jimmy gave me a second chance. Proceeded from, like I said, to open my own business.
Now the homeless shelter here, you came in here and you had a warm place to stay.
Yes.
Talk about your experience actually inside of the shelter.
They kept us warm, they feed us well, okay?
What
the
does
volunteers feed us very well.
What does the shelter provide?
They provide you food, well, not showers, we go to Y for the showers,
Okay.
but a warm place to stay. They'll help you with anything you need. I mean, they got me my ID. They got me the information I needed to go ahead and start everything I've started, okay? They'd be able to help anybody if they're willing to take the help.
In your experience, for people who might not be subjected to the homeless, what kind of need is there here in northeastern Pennsylvania?
They do need one. They need it because these people are living in tents in the woods, okay? And how are they supposed to go get a job living in the woods? You can't do it.
So there's no help.
There's no help. There's no help, okay? They opened the shelter for that reason, and they will help you. They've taken people for jobs, gotten people jobs. So, I mean, it works out. It's what you want to work for too, you know what I'm saying?
So how are you doing now?
I'm doing pretty good. Okay.
Financially stable, you have a home to live
Financially
in?
stable, I have a place to live, yes. All right, picking up jobs. Okay, things are getting better. I mean, I bought 4 vehicles.
And what do you have to say to Catholic Social Services and to the people, the volunteers, and everyone
To
who has
thank
actually...
them very much for what they gave me, because I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today.
John sheds light on how the homeless shelter helped him get back on his feet. And coming up next, find out how this shelter saved a person's life. Plus later on Community NEPA, how you can help keep residents warm.
Mary Jo Pencala is actually the coordinator here at the homeless shelter. If you just tuned in, we are in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. We're talking about the homeless shelter that recently formed here in 2016, and this was certainly a difficult task. We'll talk to Neil Alberto from Catholic Social Services in just a bit. But Mary Jo, your role here, talk about the coordination of such a shelter.
Oh my gosh, it was a daunting project. It took a lot of people, a lot of volunteers. It could not have happened without this core group of people who were intent on helping those who had no shelter and no place to go, nothing to eat. So we started on February 8th, and it was just at the beginning of a very frigid cold snap in February. And it was very, very, very divine providence that it started out slow, because people are, the homeless are subject to distrust. You know, they've been hurt, they've been turned down, they've been let down, and so it took a while to gain their confidence. We started out with small numbers. Now, a month ago, in the middle of summer, we had 21 people. 21, so we're a little concerned of what's going to happen when the winter does hit again. Yeah, so what the usual process is that the person who's homeless will find out about us, and they'll either contact us down at Catholic Social Services, or they show up at our front door here. And we'll do an intake where we get their information that goes actually into a state database, and because it's tracked, and we go over the rules, because there are rules that need to be followed by all the individuals. And when the residents come in, we have staff that will go through their bags and their, ask them to empty their pockets, just to make sure that there's no contraband, no weapon, nothing like that coming in. We're trying very, very hard to run a safe place, and we're dealing with a lot of individuals that will have substance abuse or mental health illness. They're the two big ones right now. And the local ER knows we're here in the middle of the night. If they have somebody who's, they have no place to send them, they know that they can bring them down here. And so the same thing with the police department. They can bring somebody here, and we'll house them, and then the next day we'll go through the process. Once the residents come in and they're checked, they sign in. Many come in for the meal, and that is telling us that there's a great need for an evening feeding program in Hazleton. Many will come, they're very thankful for the meal, and then they go out. We don't know where they go. Many will stay. The meals are provided by groups of volunteers, primarily church groups, but there are also individual groups. And Judy Hall is my wonderful volunteer coordinator. She puts the calendar together, and people will sign up for a specific day. They bring the entire meal here, because we have no facility really that we can cook for the residents right now. The volunteers will bring the meal, set it up, and serve it to the residents. And then the residents will have their dinner, and there's a community time. If there are some issues, say that maybe they're working on getting their ID, That's huge. They can't even apply for a job if they don't have an ID. So we try to assist them with that and get them through the avenues. Our Representative Two Hills' office has been very instrumental in helping us do that. Or maybe they're looking for a job. We try to assist them, ask them to go to the Career Link, or we post. We have a wall of classifieds there where they can look for job opportunities and or apartments. They can stay here a maximum of 30 days, so they have a lot of work to do. 30 days goes very fast. If we're trying to get IDs, get a job, and get an apartment, it's a tough challenge.
Now, for people who don't get inside of the shelter, we talked about the area where they check in and the goodies, so they have a common area where they share, and then there are several bedrooms.
Yes.
And 2 bathrooms. So how are the bedrooms set up, and do we have enough beds?
No, I don't. I fear that we do not. The American Red Cross were very good to us. They gave us these cots. We have American Red Cross cots. Other donors have given us blankets, sheets, pillows. There's always a need for blankets, sheets, and pillows, always. We have to launder these things, so that's another big job expense. Exactly. If there's very few times that we've turned people away. As I mentioned earlier, that a month ago we had 21 people. That was really a lot of people for this building, but it was raining, and they were standing here looking at me, and I was like, oh my, we have to make this work. We really have to make this work. Neil is working on getting us bunks, so we'll be able to accommodate more people sleeping-wise. Then the next problem is the area where they eat their meal isn't big enough, so we'll probably have to do meals and shifts. But yes, it's and with winter coming again, I only see it growing.
We have a very generous community. That's one thing we are. We might not have a lot of money in this area, but we are very giving and generous. What are the needs? What can people do? How can they help?
Oh, you hit that right, the nail on the head. This is new to me. I've never ran a homeless shelter before, and when we started, I was amazed at the love that came out of this community. We're serving meals every single day, 7 days a week, from the goodness of people's hearts. They prepare the meal, they buy the food, they prepare it, and they bring it.
So you can use more meals?
Yes, Saturdays and Sundays are tough to get covered. We really do need a little help with that. The basics, socks and underwear, are always needed. When the residents are out in the elements, their shoes and their socks get wet. They, unfortunately, many get something called trench foot. Earlier in the season, we had a gentleman who had frostbite, and it was a very serious condition for him. Actually, we feel we saved his life. We saved his life.
Okay, so they can drop this off where? Catholic Social
Catholic
Services?
Social Services, yes. They can call us down there at 570-455-1521 and ask for Mary Jo.
Okay, so because people are not seeing homeless people maybe on Broad Street or these major streets laying or sleeping, doesn't mean that there isn't a need. They are here.
They are here.
They are here 4 seasons. They're here in the cold. They're here in the extreme conditions of summertime, and the need is great. And I applaud you and everyone behind these efforts, because I know it's been a difficult task to get funding, to get people involved. The volunteer part might be easier. It's the funding that comes along with
funding. And as our residents transition and go into their apartments, then there's a need for furniture.
Okay.
Furniture. And
so we have furniture.
Furniture,
we have clothing.
Clothing is needed. Blankets and pillows are needed. That helps us with the laundry, because once every time we have a new resident, I need a new set of bedding for them. And yeah, it's an ongoing process.
So what is your hope for this homeless shelter? On a positive note, what are you hoping that this homeless shelter can do for the greater Hazleton area?
Oh, we want, first and foremost, we need to shelter those that are at greatest need, and then help them become self-supportive, get their jobs, get their housing, get them off the streets. And you're right, when our volunteers come in to provide the meal, I have had several say to me, oh my gosh, they look just like me. And it's very, very eye-opening. You probably are walking past many homeless people and not even knowing it. It's really amazing.
Again, donations of socks, blankets, and warm meals are in high demand. You can help provide items to the homeless shelter by calling Catholic Social Services. Next on Community NEPA, it's the force that helped get a homeless shelter open in Greater Hazleton. Hear from Catholic Social Services Director Neil Alberto. Catholic Social Services has been a part of Greater Hazleton for 77 years now. The community's needs have changed over the years, but the mission of the nonprofit has remained to provide the necessities of food, shelter, and clothing. Also, to offer families programs that help them help themselves.
Certainly we're hearing from Community NEPA that there is a need here in the Hazleton area to shelter our homeless. Neil, you see firsthand through Catholic Social Services the need here at home. Can you provide some statistics for us?
Yeah, this has been something, boy, I'll tell you that for the last 20 years at least, there's been this identified need, and finally, with so many folks coming together, Catholic Social Services taking the lead in doing this, but so many different churches supporting this, the United Way, the City of Hazleton, individuals, businesses, coming together as a group and saying, hey, we have to once and for all address this. Since the program started, and it started initially as a pilot program earlier in the year, and the whole idea behind that was to say, okay, number one, we will respond to the need of providing shelter, but also at the same time get real numbers and real data to determine whether or not there definitely is the need. And we found that after 6 months, yes, there definitely was that need. And so the decision was made then to move forward with a permanent homeless shelter for the community. Since we started in February of 2016 to where we're at now, at least 140 individuals have been served through this service, and it's really, truly, responding to the corporal works of mercy, providing individuals with sheltering, a meal, and that opportunity to pick up the pieces and move forward. And that's what this is all about.
Now, Catholic Social Services is about giving back to the community, but also educating them on how they can help themselves. Have you seen from the homeless shelter the people here utilizing the services? Have they been able to get out into society and make a difference like John has? Yes.
I'm going to be honest, there have been ups and downs, but that's the population we're dealing with from day one. Individuals who have come in just to get out of the element. Ironically, the first week we opened this, the weather was a somewhat mild winter, except for the first week we opened. That week the temperatures dipped down into, it was sub-zero. And so this opened, folks started to come, and there have been numerous successes with this from the beginning, to the point of literally saving an individual's life who had been out in the elements. And unfortunately had to have an amputation. But if this wasn't here, his life, he wouldn't be with us today. Individuals who have gone on to rehab, individuals who have pulled themselves together in finding employment, and 80%, well, a little bit more than 80% of the individuals that were served have been right from this greater Hazleton area. So that also, as you'd asked about numbers, shows that there's a need right here in the community. We're responding to that need as a community, as an agency, and here's 140 individuals who aren't out there in abandoned buildings or whatnot and just wandering. Here's an opportunity for them.
What does the future look like? What is your vision for the homeless shelter?
Our goal is to be able to establish a permanent location. We're so grateful to the churches who have stepped forward to support this rotating model of sheltering, but we realize we need something more permanent, and that's where we're heading, in that direction of a more permanent location and a more permanent shelter.
From when you started with Catholic Social Services over the years, has the need grown for a purpose like this, a shelter, as far as numbers?
Oh, you know what, truly this has been an issue since 1991, when a housing coalition was first established in the community, so going back to the early 90s, but yeah, I would say that in the last couple of years we're seeing that those numbers have grown, unfortunately. But at the same time, you know what, we're coming together as community and taking ownership, and we're responding to the need and helping people to help themselves.
Again, donations of socks, blankets, and warm meals are in high demand. You can help provide items to the homeless shelter by calling Catholic Social Services. A nation should not be judged on how it treats its highest citizens, but how it treats its lowest ones. Nelson Mandela.